check out Cajun Lights, your complete dog hunting outfitter. Tracking equipment, leashes, collars, dog supplies, and much, much more. You can find it all at CajunLights.com. And don't forget their outstanding lineup of lights. You can find it all at CajunLights.com. Elite nutrition products are the hottest thing on the market right now for dog and horse owners. And Houndsman XP is a dealer. You can find all their products on our website at houndsmanxp.com. Over the past 5 years, you've tuned into this podcast, and I don't take it lightly. We have built a mutual trust. And when I recommend a product, it's because I believe in it, I use it, and I'm given my seal of approval for that. I'm putting my name on that. And with Elite Nutrition products, I do trust it. I do use it. I've seen great results with their essential dogs, their pre and probiotics, their tick-borne disease treatment. It's all natural. It's a great alternative to pharmaceuticals when used appropriately. If you expect extreme performance, you need Elite Nutrition. Available from houndsmanxp.com.
Those rabbits had all the tricks. So they stopped mid. So when you think of having a rabbit in a completely open field, you think, yeah, of course the goshawk will be able to catch them. But that's not the case. So when they know what to do and stopping in the middle of the field and the goshawk goes 1 meter above them and grabs in the ground and stuff like that. So when you have rabbits which know the deal and which know what a goshawk is, they bring up impressive strategies to survive and not being caught.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back for another episode of the Falconry Chronicles podcast. We're back in Germany again for this episode, and Kai Schmid was nice enough to join me on somewhat short notice here. I've been an internet acquaintance of his for, I don't know, probably at least a year or two now, something like that. But anyway, I asked him if he'd be willing to come on and talk about his falconry from the part of Germany where he's at, and we talk about primarily flying goshawks and also using vizslas in falconry, and he also expounds some on ferreting, which he does as well in his falconry. So some cool stuff covered in this episode, and you get to hear more about falconry from Germany. So we're going to jump right in as usual, and here we go. So you have vizslas too? Is that the only breed that you have?
Yes.
So
yes,
just vizslas.
Yeah, we have 2 vizslas at the moment, but there's one thing I love them really by heart. I learned falconry with them and everything. But there's one breed I would like to have. It's Dackel. So Dachshund or Wiener dog, or I'm not sure how you refer to those.
Yep. Well,
this is the one other breed I like to have one time.
Well, we'll have a fun conversation then, because I also have a vizsla and I also have dachshunds. So, it's a large part of my world, and I actually ran them all yesterday, and it was a good time. I just I don't know how your season's going. I'm kind of having to take a little bit of a back seat. As you may or may not know, this year's been a big transition year for me in a lot of things. So, I'm still trying my best now that it's gotten cold enough again that to keep them ran and keep them entertained and stuff. But it is what it is. But I mean, you fly goshawks too, right?
Yep. But we have big issues this season as well. But do you have a bird flying over them, or just having gun, or what are you having them just pointing, running, and dachshund do whatever they want? And
yeah. Right now, I'm mainly just trying to keep them ran, keep them exercised. I take them out to some of our fields and let them still try and chase rabbits and stuff, regardless. My season has been kind of in flux with, unfortunately, I've needed to focus on making money more this year than personal falconry, just because of my, going back to a single income again, just me So, the Harris that I've been using for, presentations and things like that. And, that I had another Harris for a little bit that I was doing abatement work with, but now that's stopped. So as far as my personal falconry, I did make a couple of short hunts earlier in the season. But unfortunately, my female Harris still likes to try and eat my dachshunds. So I can't really fly her over them. But I'm still on the fence. Within the next week or so, I might go ahead and trap a passage redtail and see if I can, get them working together. Like so many of my, every time I see a post, I was just going to think about just taking the season off and just regrouping next year and stuff. But like, I keep seeing my friends post with squirrels and, over their dogs and dachshunds and I'm just like, it's eating at me. So even if I can only fly for a couple months or something, I would rather just probably go ahead and do that. So anyway, to answer your question right now, not really. I'm just trying to keep them ran, exercise, entertained, motivated, but hopefully soon. So.
Yeah, I have quite a similar feeling at the moment because of the influenza. We have the issue here that all birds have to be in their chambers and they need to be completely closed. And yeah, they're really scared of that. And I hoped this to be finished by the end of November, but it will be at least more like 2 weeks where we have this state. So my goshawk stays in the chamber and I have a permit to fly my falcon, but only for training, so that they're not just dropped out of the season in terms of bumblefoot or something like that. And out of this reason, I got some permission for that, but no real hunting, just some movement and training. And yeah, it's really sad, especially when you see the same from me. Friends from other parts of Germany have the possibility because they have no lockdown, and yeah, they are flying, they're hunting. I'm really happy to see that, but at the moment, sadly, I'm grounded.
So, what part of Germany are you from?
Completely in the middle. Probably Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Really in the middle of Germany.
Okay, and so it's just your area of Germany that they've made the lockdowns for flying.
It happened to several regions. So the what we call Bundesländer, so the little states. So the one I'm living in the central, nearly all of the compartments had a lockdown, and also in the north path and the south path there had been lockdowns, but most of them have been a bit more easier on that cases.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, fortunately, we don't have any kind of restrictions like that here. I mean, and even like certain things that we're hunting, I mean, they're still letting everybody, hunt. Of course, it's at your own risk kind of thing, with ducks and other waterfowl and stuff like that. But yeah, luckily we haven't had any kind of imposed restrictions on even just being able to fly our birds if we want to or need to. I'm sure that's got to be frustrating.
It definitely is, but the good thing, it's the first time here for me. And maybe we will have some progress on the vaccine or the allowance of doing vaccination on our birds in the next year or the year after. Maybe we can bring this through, and then we will be free of this issue. Here in Germany as well, it was in France and in UK, the issue also was there. And it's, a Europe problem at the moment, but maybe we'll get the vaccine and then everything changes.
Yeah, and I do remember a couple of my UK friends mentioning that as well, that they had restrictions and couldn't fly and stuff because of that and stuff too. So, yeah, I don't know. That's got to be really, man. I couldn't imagine not being able to at least just fly, even in areas where there's no risk or them getting anything or whatever. And but yeah, either way, I mean, at least you're able to still fly your Falcon, get it out, keep it fit, and stuff too, so that whenever the restrictions do get lifted, that you'll be good to go.
Exactly.
Yeah. What are you primarily hunting right now?
So with the falcon, I wanted to start for the first time to do magpies, but no real progress there since, as mentioned, for 1 month we haven't been hunting there. So on this one I'm learning, but for the goshawk he usually gets nearly everything. So so it's teasel, and we're flying mostly rabbits. And he as well took duck, pheasant, and the first time this season, before we had the lockdown, he took his first gray partridge, which made me really, really happy.
Very good. Very good. And I'm assuming then that that's pretty much what, pointing dogs like vizslas and stuff can be pretty indispensable as far as that kind of stuff goes. No question with that. I mean, how long have you been a vizsla guy?
So I had my whole falconry and everything, the dog stuff, started with one of the greatest falconer we have here in Germany, Walter Bettnarek. So he is a guy from the region where I was raised, and he as well had vizsla for his whole time. And that there was a special moment for me. He had an old dog, an old male, and we were out in an airplane, in an airport, an old military airport, and there we lost this dog over and over again because he was pointing somewhere, and it wasn't all the time, but every now and then we had the situation. We were with two dogs, a young girl and the old boy. And yeah, after 10 or 15 minutes, we recognized, oh man, we lost the old dog, and then started to search back from there where he's pointing. And one time, so he was like 11 or 12 years old already, and we found him still in position. So one of his feet was up, but he couldn't stand anymore because he was getting old, and so he sat down, but still in position. And this rabbit he was pointing, we also caught with a goshawk. And yeah, so these dogs always caught me. So it was the starting of my falconry, and yeah, those dogs are incredibly good pointers. Of course, they're not going that far as English pointers and setters, but especially for falconry, because I want them to be a bit closer to me for the goshawks. And yeah, those are great dogs, and they're really sensible. So I don't want to have, German wild-haired pointers. So they're a bit harder, and they're not difficult. No dog is more difficult than the other, but you need to take it on a different way to tell them what you want and what we need. And this will to please I see in the vizsla always catches me. And that's, also the reason I'm in the club here in Germany and doing work for the vizslas here in Hesse. And yeah, that's definitely the breed of my life. And but I have to admit, I also had the wired-haired ones. I trained them for working tests, as well as a German wired-haired pointer. I trained it for working tests. So I'm not a racist in terms of breeds. I love all the breeds, and they all have a purpose, and they have all their characteristics. But yeah, my heart belongs to the vizsla.
I mean, everybody can have their preferences for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's not every breed is for everybody. That's another thing I'll say till I'm blue in the face. There's a lot of breeds that look cool and in theory sound cool on the surface and everything, but I've got friends that run Yaga terriers and other breeds and stuff. I have no delusions that I would like having one. Not at this stage of my life anyway, especially with what I'm doing. And I
no, thank you. I mean, I love watching them. They're great dogs. Not poo-pooing on anybody else's, preferences at all. Not a good dog for me. I mean, there's lots of breeds that aren't good fits for people, and that's why there's so many of them. So
seeing English Pointer in the field of Spain or on the Highlands, and also at special region having English working cockers or Bretonese, and so they are great dogs for really, really great opportunities and the right fields and outside. So when you have the right conditions, there is the fitting breed for you and for the situation. But yeah, as mentioned, so the vizslas, it took together for me. I would like to have bigger dogs, higher dogs, and then you quite fast get dogs which have a long range. And I don't want that.
I wish I had more bigger fields and more feather in my area. I don't know if you've ever heard me mention or not, but I mean, I wish I would have discovered sooner that the smaller breeds like the dachshunds and stuff would have been a better fit in my area. I still love vizslas. I'm glad that you kind of discovered early on and very quickly that was going to be a breed that was going to work well for you in your area. When I made the decision to have one, it was still whenever I just knew enough to be dangerous. I didn't, fully appreciate how to evaluate what breed of dog was going to work best for me. And I don't regret having one. She's been a really good dog, but for my area, the smaller breed like the dachshund and stuff would have been a better fit. But all that being said, I mean, going back to where you're at, is it more urban type hunting or like city, like just outside cities, or do you have areas in the country more? Like, what's your hunting landscape look like?
Yeah, so most of our hunts, of my hunts, are in the middle of the city. So as you probably hear of many people here in Germany, we have big issues with our prey populations, and because of that, the best rabbit spots in Germany are usually really in the city center. And this is what I'm doing most of the time. So I'm working at the university in the city of Gießen, and there I have the possibility to hunt the university grounds. So there are several opportunities to hunt there. Of course, it's really narrow. There are many windows. It's, of course, a lot of people there. I have a kindergarten close by to one of the best rabbit holes I have, and I do hunt them. So my goshawk can do this stuff, and he's fine with that. Catching rabbits, and 10 meters more to the left, there are children playing football. It's not that easy. It's not easy with the dogs. You have to keep an eye on cars, and it's not the way I would like to have it. So I'm just thinking back to times where we had this military airport or other regions or hunting grounds which are more appealing to the eye. I have to say, when you're able to bring a goshawk to the point that he is fine with all this influences from outside, cars, humans, dogs, and everything, and he still hunts and still does what you want to do and want to see. Of course, it's good to have a bird like that, but especially when I put him out of his chamber 14 days ago, he was really high, and I felt that he wanted to hunt. So he was at 1,000 grams. Usually I fly him at 900 in the city center. And I was completely sure that if we would have a real good hunting estate or the possibility to go outside without disturbance, I could fly him at that weight and he would be fine with that. But of course, as soon as there's a little inconvenience for him, I will have to stay under a tree for some time. But
the glories of a goshawk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen that many times. And yeah, I mean, especially with the vizsla, I've noticed in the really urban environments, that's where it kind of becomes a little more stressful to deal with, because while they don't go very far, 30-40 yards in a more city environment, it's they can burn up a field really quick, and next thing you know, you look over and they're in close to a street or something. It's very difficult to keep an eye on a bigger dog like that, and a higher energy dog with smaller fields in the middle of a city.
Yeah. So most of the time I'm alone, and at the moment having 2 vizsla, 2 ferrets in the back, and the goshawk. So I get it managed, but of course you have to keep your eyes everywhere, and it's not like a little Sunday walk where you have nothing to hear and nothing to take care of and just let it flow. You're always alarmed to see what happens and call the dogs back, or even you have to decide, should I put the ferrets in or not? And it's not that difficult. And then you look on the clock, and maybe students go for lunch, and then you skip this, and it's not that easy. It's not that easy. I don't want to stop falconry at all, never ever. But it could be easier to hunt.
Well, and then I'm assuming that there's probably a fence around that playground and stuff. So if a rabbit goes under that fence and the goshawk catches a rabbit or something in the middle of the school playground or something, you got to deal with little things like that. And you just there's always, it seems like every passing year, more and more inconveniences, whether it's you're losing more spots, or stuff gets developed around your spots, or whatever. It's the same story everywhere. Yeah. Literally everywhere. But so I'm assuming then that's why you have the interest in dachshunds, then, because of whole work and needing to get rabbits up easier and things like that. Or
so the dogs are doing great work, and our rabbits. So I have good ferrets as well, and they know the deal. And it's not mainly, so I really like the breed, and also I see the opportunity, as you mentioned, if you have really dense stuff in the field, of course, then the dachshund can really do his job. But even if my old dog is in his shoulder, he's 67 centimeters, so he's a big vizsla. But if he smells rabbits, even in dorms and stuff, he's like this high, so gets down to 15 centimeters and somehow crunches in to get to the rabbits. And he could have. It would be easier if he would be smaller and if he would be a dachshund, of course, but he wants to bring it up, and that helps a lot. And maybe when he's about to retire, then this dachshund could help, but the young vizsla does it as well. So
yeah, the vizsla that I have is kind of the same way. When she was younger, especially, didn't really have an issue. She would jump in briars and stuff, but she would get all scratched up and whatever, and would get in a little bit, but not all the way in like you really need to. Like, she knew they were in there, but couldn't always. It is kind of nice having a tandem team, kind of work together in that way. But yeah, ultimately the benefit for you in having both breeds is just, mainly just probably switching and eventually just primarily working just the dachshunds on the rabbits, and then using just the vizsla on your partridge and stuff for your falcons. But, and I'm curious, being so close to or in the middle of a city, I'm kind of surprised you still have spots that have partridge and other, feather in them.
No, it's a really, really just a few. So it's not like I can go with the falcons every week and stuff like that. No. And also the cord I had with my goshawk, that I had the possibility to catch a partridge. It's not that often. So we have some regions here. The region where I live now was one of a really, really packed partridge region in Germany, like 40, 50 years ago. So there are stories of having little gun hunts around here where they shoot 200 partridge just for fun every second Sunday. So the region really, really fits the partridge, but they get really, really few. So there is a big, I don't know if you ever heard of that, Rebhuhn retten, Vielfalt fördern, Rebhuhn retten, Vielfalt fördern. So it's a study from Göttingen, a university here in Germany, where they wanted to find out why the partridge got a big decline and find out which methods and which changes in the culture should be done to improve the breeding success of the partridge here. And I'm quite close to some hunting grounds which did all of that stuff and had great increasement of partridges. So once in a full moon, I get allowance and can go out and hunt those upland birds. Also, there are some pheasant regions, like 100, 200 kilometers to the south from my spot. So yeah, it's sadly not every day hunt, but every time again.
Yeah. Well, and in the meantime, I'm sure, like you said, you're flying and doing this. Are you droning to keep fitness and things like that with it as well, or what type of falcon is it?
It's a peregrine.
Okay, I forgot to ask the species.
Yeah. So at the most, so I've flown for a longer period gyrfalcon, and but most of the time peregrines. So at the moment there's a teasel which came quite late to my place, and yeah, then I started him and the lockdown came up. So it was absolutely not the perfect way how to start this bird or a bird at all, but yeah, from time to time you have a bird and no one wants it and no one knows what to do with it, and then you get the feeling, yeah, come on, let's try. And I wanted to do this magpie experiment for a longer period of time, and yeah, that it will be so difficult because of the lockdown. I didn't see that coming, but
well, yeah, hindsight, it's always 2020, as they say. You can't really predict when the government's going to start imposing weird stuff at random times. It is what it is. But
yep.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, you're looking to shoot for, hunting magpies eventually with it.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you've got a lot more of those around than partridge.
Yeah. Yes, and the most important point is you get the permission to hunt them way more easy. So
yeah.
They try, so the groundkeepers or the owner of the hunting ground, they try to do everything to get to a certain amount of partridges, and then maybe they want to hunt their own dogs on them or just train them. Also train the dogs on partridge, and then they are happy, so they're not happy when we are coming around and catching those. So yeah, magpies is no problem because most of the gamekeepers do not care about them. It's even easier when you ask for crow hunting. So that's also a thing here in Germany. A lot of people doing crow hunting and gathering hundreds of hunting grounds and driving those to get a good chance, a good slip for the falcon or the goshawk.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see people caring less about giving permits out for something like magpies than something like partridge, for sure. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, this venture is always hard, just even as at a basic level. I mean, following the path of least resistance when it comes to getting permission to hunt certain things, it makes more sense for sure. But
it can be the first step into a good hunting ground. So I would, so people starting falconry and do not know where to start, that's a good thing to start with. So trying to catch crows and gather some hunting grounds and flying your first bird is a good possibility to maybe have opportunities for upland birds or rabbits or hare later on. For me personally, I want to see dogs running. So when there's just the car and maybe you throw out the dogs in the end of the flight just to support the bird not being attacked by the other crows, for example, I prefer it that way. So I want to see the dogs running. I want to see them pointing, and then falconry comes to what I would like to see and what I want to do with falconry. So I want to have real this spectacular combination of dog, ferret, and goshawk, for example, and everything puts together in the best way possible.
Yeah, and it's hard whenever you start incorporating other animals like dogs and things like that in your falconry. It's hard to go back to not doing it. I mean, on a weekly basis, I help multiple friends that don't like hunting with dogs and stuff, and like being the beaters constantly, and it just, I mean, it's still fun getting out, hanging out with everybody, whatever, but I don't think personally I don't like not having dogs anymore. If I can't really try and at least do that, then it takes a lot of the fun out of it for me now. Sounds like you've got the same mindset in that regard. And I do have some questions though about the ferret. I mean, I've talked to a few other guys that use ferrets and stuff, in their falconry, like in the UK and other places. But I mean, what did you have to do anything, special to get them going? Like how do you, I've never really asked many questions on how, guys get ferrets going and their methods and incorporating that into their falconry.
Yeah. So the good thing with ferrets, so they are already domesticated. So it's, so they want to be around humans. And of course, when you start, so we do breed them as well. So this year we had 9 ferrets, so it was a bit too much. So 2 males are still there, which are supposed to go out to other people. And there's, from my point of view, I had no issues with ferrets at all. So you get them from a breeder you know, and he should be handling them a lot, of course, and so they shouldn't be biting at all. And when you get the youngsters with 8 weeks, you start training with them. So usually day-old chick legs, you pull them out, and then you can make them learn them sit or following you and walking up your leg and stuff like that. So it's just like training dogs, or it's close to training dogs. So they know the deal. I never had the situation of ferrets running away. So they love to do their job. When you put them the first time in front of a hole. But I have to say, usually what I did is running the youngsters with an old one. Of course, when you started, you get an old one, but of course that helps a lot. So when one is there who knows what to do, but they know it by heart. So when you set them in front of a rabbit hole, and what you absolutely need to know is a rabbit in there. So this is the biggest problem I've seen on training ferrets, or from my point of view, is when you doing too much with them and make them tired, and they do not understand why should I go in this hole and that hole and in this hole. And this is the point where also the vizsla is important for me, or the dogs overall is important. They need to point holes where rabbits are in. And then you directly start with ferrets, only put them in holes where a rabbit is in there, and maybe it shouldn't be the biggest rabbit hive, or what are they called?
The warren.
Warren.
Yeah.
So don't give them the big ones, give them the small one. In the best case, there are holes only to slip through, just like 30 centimeters, 50 centimeters. Those are perfect for young ferrets to get to know rabbits and what is their job. And then they stop doing stuff like going to sleep there. They will never do it because they know I have a job, just like our hunting dogs. They know their job. They want to see that. And if they have the opportunity to hunt, they always hunt. And when they know, okay, the rabbit is out, I will come back by myself. So I'm not like clapping a lot or stuff like that. I let them run. And when they come out, I collect them, or they come even to me. And then you pick them up and go to the next hole.
Yeah, well, I mean, that sounds easy enough in theory. But
falconry is so easy. Just let the bird fly and catch some prey. So in theory, there are many things. No, but as mentioned, so ferrets are domesticated, and it's when you use some time on them and do some, as mentioned, handle them, feed them with the hand, and you can walk them and you can learn them little tricks. And as always, when you use your time to bond with the dogs, with the ferrets, with the birds, and try to make them comfortable, they will stick to you.
Well, yeah, that's very interesting to me. I've still never gotten a chance to see that because, I mean, pretty much it's very frowned upon, if not completely not allowed, from most states here. So we don't really use ferrets for the most part here in the U.S. So that's why so many guys have adopted using dachshunds, especially out east and stuff. But
the government thinks it's just not animal right, okay, or what's the reason not allowed ferrets for hunting?
There's multiple reasons, but I think it's more of a fair chase kind of theory when it comes to using ferrets. The way it's viewed with hunting is that it's kind of an unfair advantage in a way. At least when it comes to, they don't like you getting animals out of their natural resting areas and things like that. They think it's once an animal's in there, then it's technically kind of off limits, so to speak. I'm trying to think of the best way to put this to kind of, that's just the way it's been explained to me anyway, from some other guys that have actually even been conservation officers and stuff, is, once an animal is in its domestic resting place or whatever, getting them out of certain areas with certain animals, it's seen as kind of like an unfair advantage or something like that. And it's there's questionable ethics involved with, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of gray area when it comes to the interpretation of a lot of those things. So anyway, that's kind of the way it's been explained to me before. But I mean, there's probably going to be people that are going to listen to this that are probably going to be like, you see it a different way, or can think of probably a better way to explain it, or just basically say that's either accurate or it's not. But that's just the way it's been explained to me anyway. But once again, when you're using hounds and hunting dogs and stuff, it's that's considered fair chase, obviously, and it is what it is. You can't, just because if you're running a dog and, for example, and it sniffs out a rabbit, it could just as easily be kind of in either type of habitat or whatever, or the type of place. So it's, like I said, there's lots of different ways you can look at it, but it would be something I think it would be neat to see. I don't know how prevalent it is in a lot of different places, but I've always been fascinated by, like I said, the use of ferrets and things like that. But so do you have to get your ferrets from breeders and stuff like dogs and
Yeah, like so. There was a period in Germany where several people had them as pets, but it started all with hunters shooting rabbits, and there was also a time where they really had ferrets which bit your fingers and everything, and you had leather gloves. But I didn't know that time, so it's just from the old hunters tell me what they did with the ferrets and what was not okay. So yeah, nowadays when you want to get ferrets, you ask one of the falconers you know or a lot around the club, and you will find some and will be able to get your hands on them. But maybe we have a huge decline in rabbits due to rabbit hybrid disease and myxomatosis. Yeah, so there are not that many rabbit hunters, and several old rabbit hunters stopped having ferrets and moved over to upland for upland game. At least for some people it's the case. But yeah, many people went over to hare because the situation of hare got a bit better. Last year we had myxomatosis of hare. So it's really the prey is the problem for falconry here in Europe or in Germany most of the time, because we do not have the numbers we once had to start a new bird, especially. And yeah, I'm still fine. So the populations I have in my front door are okay. We can do the hunts, we can train the birds, and we do not bring rabbits to extinction or stuff like that. But we once, like 10 years ago, we caught like 100 rabbits a year, and we caught 3 and 4 rabbits a day. And those times this is not possible at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that, I think, most places. And if you're wanting to maintain all your spots through a season, I mean, it really is smart to only take one or so, out of each spot. It just keeps getting harder and harder, to find not just spots, but also a prevalence of rabbits in those spots. And so, yeah, I mean, it's the same here too. But I guess, yeah, I mean, and thanks for elaborating on the ferret thing a little bit more too. I mean, I've never thought to kind of ask more about that process and stuff. And I figured that it would probably be harder to find decent genetic lines of ferrets than anything else too, just because of what you were describing. I've figured that there's probably some degree of, after a while, there's going to be a lot of watered down, genetics and stuff when it comes to those too. But
absolutely, there are ferrets which are more like pets, of course. But I know stories from people just getting a pet ferret, like 3 or 4 years old, never seen a rabbit hole and nothing, and then they went out with it, and it became the best hunter they ever had. So. It is in their genetics, but of course there are lines which are more prone to get or to become good hunters and others not. But yeah, it's in there, especially so I'm the club president of Hessia for the vizslas. And of course there are I like to refer to them as civil owners. So they just have it for the couch and walking them. Maybe they do. Of course, many people do like dog tricks and stuff like to train their dogs or do man trailing or whatever. So the dogs do not have a bad life with those people, but those are bred for hunting, and you see it over and over again. Where I told one woman, yeah, your dog is pointing his ball you're throwing. And then she started to understand what her dog is doing, because she always thought, he's just excited and wants it. No, he was pointing. He froze in front of her, and waited for the throw and stuff like that. So it's in there. Not every dog, not every ferret is the best hunter. Of course, they differ. but somewhere it's in there, and therefore we bred them over generations, and this is not diluted so fast as you sometimes think, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Well, and remind me again to kind of going back to, your personal falconry and stuff. I mean, how long have you been doing this now?
So it's half of my life, so 15 years, 17 years. No,
Yeah.
18 years. 18. Oh, so I'm getting up.
Don't worry. I forget how old I am half the time anymore too. I have to sit and think about it and do the math in my head sometimes. It's you starts becoming harder to remember the little things as every passing year goes on. So, well, that's cool. I mean, so you've been at it a good while then, and I mean, what are some of the other species other than the goshawks and falcons that you've gotten to fly over the years then?
No, I really stuck to that. So my heart belongs mainly to the goshawk. So as mentioned, the mentor or falconry master I had is a really well-known falconry or goshawker. In the first place, he also flew a lot of falcons, but he's really known for goshawks and how to train them, and he did incredibly good lectures on that for our clubs. And yeah, from this point, I learned falconry from flying goshawks, seeing goshawks over vizslas, and also stuck to one of the biggest breeders here in Germany, like 10 years ago. So in one season, we bred two people feeding about 150 goshawks. And so those youngsters, and yeah, I fell in love with those birds and seeing the different personalities and also seeing the different way of raising goshawks. So I saw wild-caught Finnish goshawks as well as, what you refer to as imprinted goshawks or partial imprinted goshawks or social imprint. So there are many words around there and people arguing about what is the imprint of this goshawk, but from my point of view, it's a bit more fluent. And of course, if it's not a wild-caught bird in the end of August, there is always a bit of imprint to those birds, and you have to account to that.
Yeah, and I think just having seen a lot of differences in not only species but how they're either imprinted or raised, by the parents or whatever. There's such a remarkable difference in the end result you can get sometimes, especially with goshawks and accipiters in general. There's there's a lot of really favorable and a lot of really unfavorable things that you can get in the end. It kind of goes without saying, but I mean, so your preference has always been imprinting them, or what have your preferences been over time?
So my last two goshawks were from a well-known breeder here in Germany, and he's doing maybe what you would call social imprint, not social, but those youngsters are raised by an imprinted female in an open chamber, and this happens also in the city. So they see people walking by on and seeing bicycles going by and cars, and yeah, those are raised in an open chamber. So they're not feeded by the human. The female is doing that, and then you will get the bird like 2 weeks before they're completely hard penned, and then you start the process. And those are the birds I like to fly in the last time. Of course, I would love to have a bird like a wild-caught Finnish goshawk. So that this was the first goshawk I saw, and this was an impressive bird. And yeah, but you will not get them at the moment. I had goshawks which were which had some accidents or a broken wing, and then I got them from the clinics and flown them over the winter. Those were also excellent birds, and I like to fly wild-caught birds. But at the moment, and with the opportunities I have in this situation of flying in the city and everything, I really, really prefer these. Yeah, I don't know, what would you say, like a half imprint or what?
Kind of like dual imprinted in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. The terminology is always, yeah.
You can argue a lot of that. So there are different windows, imprinting on food, on nest, on of course on sexual partners, and it's not that fixed. And we've seen goshawks coming along, so becoming imprint and showing breeding and all the stuff with humans, but never saw a human till their 40th day old. Mm-hmm. So they were in a closed chamber. So it's fluent, and if you know which buttons to press, and as mentioned, the breeder, it's Heinrich Kerkhoff. So he's a guy here from Germany, flying goshawks since ever. And when you meet together for our hunts from the club, every 2 years we have a big meeting, and you go through the goshawks. Like half of the goshawk is bred by him, so he's doing a really, really good job. And it's not about producing a lot of birds. It's about how those 10 birds to 12 birds he breeds every year are raised at his place, and then also when he gives them out to the falconers, how he takes care. So when the people come around, I don't know what to do, and this happened and that happened, he will help those people.
I always like finding out what people prefer. And I mean, here in the States, there's guys that are obviously hardcore imprint guys. There's guys that prefer parent raised. And then there's plenty of guys that also like getting passage birds, since we're able to do that, although it is hard to do that here too, to a degree. But yeah, I mean, everybody's got different preferences and what they look for and how a bird ultimately ends up, being, and the manners and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't know, with, the way the situation is over there, how many you're obviously very limited where you're at in kind of what your options are, as you can't take wild birds, like you said, for the most part anyway. And, I just kind of assumed that your two options for the most part were going to be, fully imprinting, or, getting, a kind of a, what you were describing, kind of how your birds were. And I didn't also know if you have the ability to kind of tame hack or wild hack, birds there also. But
you can do stuff like that. So first, in some states you're allowed to take a goshawk chick out of the nest, so a wild one, and just raise it. The great opportunity you have in the US, sadly, is not possible here, so we're not allowed to catch passage birds. But from time to time, as mentioned, you have the opportunity to have rehab birds, and I usually try to get those birds into falconers beginner hands, so that they can make their I know it's often quite difficult for the people to understand that they have to let them fly in February, and they, from time to time, they don't want to and decide not to have this bird because it's my bird, I want to keep it. And it's really sad, because it's a great opportunity to fly those birds and learn a lot of things. And several people got stuck with imprint goshawks, which get aggressive, and because they didn't know what to do and which buttons to press, and but it sticks to that. Most of the people, of the young falconers, stick to parent reared or to some kind imprinted birds.
Okay. Well, and I mean, is there anything any differences? And I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to the other episodes that I've done with some of the other Germans that I've had on. But are there many differences in like your clubs and just how falconry is regulated or anything like that where you're at in comparison, or is it pretty much kind of the same? Rules, regulations, how to go about getting into it pretty much as the other parts of Germany.
Yeah. So for whole Germany, it's the case that you have to do a hunting exam, then doing falconry exam, and then you're allowed to start. So there's no program, what is it called?
Apprenticeship and stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not here in Germany, and it's not a good thing with getting your falconry license. You're allowed to get your first golden eagle in theory. That's the regularity. So those are the regulations here. No one wants to sell you a golden eagle at that point, and you will probably, and you should know that you shouldn't do that. But in theory, it's possible.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, I figured it was the same. I knew that they had said that everything was pretty much universal through the whole country, yes. But I didn't know if there were any other, like where you were at as far as just, different regulations on hunting or, anything and anything different or as far as what you're allowed or not allowed to do, and as far as where you're at, if there were any subtle differences or anything like that.
The regions in Germany differ in their times for the prey. So when you're allowed to hunt, so there are some difference from north to south mainly, and of course there are some species which are allowed. In Bavaria, you're allowed to hunt herons. Here in Hessen, you're not allowed. In many cases, you're not allowed, or in many states, you're not allowed to hunt gray partridges anymore because of the massive decline. And of course, at the sea, you have more possibilities to hunt different seabirds and stuff like that, which are not here anymore. So all the ducks you're allowed to hunt in Germany, I do not see them in the middle of Germany. It's just the case.
Okay. Well, cool. Is there anything else that you want to kind of, mention or add that we haven't discussed yet before we get your story or two and piece of advice?
Not really. So there are so many things going on in falconry at the moment. So I don't know if you heard of the try to downlist the peregrine from Appendix 1 to Appendix 2, which failed, sadly, last week.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something I want to mention or to do, because maybe you've seen that the return of the peregrine, we had a big book published this year or last year. Sorry, I'm not sure. And so something I would like to say or tell you. Falconry for me is something really emotional. So when you're talking, especially about the peregrine, and when I think of my falconry master who told me the stories of moving over to Great Britain in the 70s, not in the 70s, but when the big crash was, and nearly every peregrine in Germany or in Europe was nearly extinct, and he thought the last opportunity to see wild peregrines is over in UK, and he went over. And then we have this bird coming back in these numbers, and there've never been so many peregrines in Europe than now. Of course, at the moment we have some problems because of the influenza, and maybe there are some regional declines again because they maxed out because of the habitat. But that's really, really impressive. And talking to the people, so I have the feeling that I'm the generation which is supposed to talk to the people who did it. So I had the opportunity to talk to Christian Saar, who did the Falconry Fund of Germany, the Peregrine Fund of Germany. So the reintroduction of the peregrine, as well as our club president at the moment, Elizabeth, is doing the further work in Poland. And those are the great stories of falconry that because we love those birds and we want to see them in nature for the future and for future generations. And yeah, this drives falconry for me, and the whole club and the love for falconry, for birds of prey.
Good. Yeah. As I often mention to people when I give talks or presentations and stuff, if it wasn't for the efforts of a lot of falconers, there would be certain species that, even if we did still have them, and even if they did make a comeback, who's to say it would have been, to the numbers, or to the degree that we have today. So I mean, there's a lot that I really want people to understand. There's a lot that we owe to a lot of falconers, and who are also just happen to be very hardcore conservationists too. And so yeah, I mean, that's always good for people to understand. And without the efforts of a lot of different organizations, we wouldn't have what we have to a large degree, for sure. But yeah, so I was kind of saddened to hear about that. I mean, NAFA made a post or a announcement about that, and there's a lot of people that are understandably kind of upset or bummed about that. But it is what it is at this moment in time. Just there's really not much else to say other than that, other than just to continue trying to advocate for other things. And who knows, I don't
the
know.
work will go on. No doubt on that. It's sad that the work which has been done and which has been shown was a real success didn't get honored by this step. It's a bit sad, especially since there was this amendment that there will be no trade with those wild caught birds or stuff like that. And yeah, but we will see if we can do it again, if we bring up this again, and maybe we can further work on that and maybe change it in the future. But there's enough other stuff to do in the meantime, definitely.
Yeah, there's always something. It doesn't matter what it is. There's always something that can be improved on, made better, or worked towards. The work's never done with any of this stuff. So, so I guess we'll just go ahead and get your favorite or one of the more memorable hunting experiences or stories that you have that you can think of off the top of your head, and we guess we can go ahead and call it good.
Yeah, we can do so, but I'm really thinking at the moment. So I knew that you will come up with this question. I think it's not that easy to answer. So I had, as mentioned, the great opportunity to have times where we caught 100 of rabbits a year and had great flights. And when you have a goshawk at the end of the season, which already caught like 80 rabbits, those flights are different. So especially when some snow is around and the dogs are completely locked into. So there were really, really many impressive flights, also many which I took photos of. And those are really, really great to remember. And as mentioned, so I caught my first partridge with the goshawk. Was not a spectacular flight. So we were after, maybe I will tell this one because it's quite fresh. So we were out hunting pheasants and had some points, but the dogs did not hold that good in this position. And so the slip wasn't that perfect. And then we had the situation, one cockbird was sitting on a high stand for the hunter, for roe deer. and then it saw us coming and went into a maize field. And yeah, I was like, okay, let's go that and just go around it and push it out into the other direction because of the wind. And while walking on the edge of this cornfield, there was like I don't know, 5 square meters pushed down, and out of nowhere, as it usually is with partridges, this group goes up, and out of that he caught mid-air, so something after like 10 meters, 50 meters, he catches a young cock. So yeah, which make me really, really happy, because the season before he did not caught any feather, and this year he started with partridge, which made me really, really happy. And yeah, it made me show that this bird has so much more potential, even he's in the 4th year now. But yeah, catching partridge always is something to remember all the time, I think.
Oh, good stuff. Yeah, I think that personally, I always think that the flights where birds are chasing other birds are some of the best that you're going to see. It's going to, most of the time anyway, beat flights on fur and stuff that are kind of more, can be a little bit more one dimensional. But that's why I say most of the time. There's always kind of exceptions and stuff. But
I'm sorry, I think you only want to hear one story, don't you? Or
no, you can share.
You would like to, or you decide later on what you like more. We had the opportunity to hunt at I don't know what's called, cloister, where you have the monks, the church building where the monks are, and
like a monastery kind of thing, or like
monastery
a temple. I don't know.
Yeah. So, and there we had the opportunity to hunt rabbits, and we always started there to hunt and walk by, and then went over to other places where it was not easier, but where the slips were better. And those rabbits, we hunted them over 3 years. And it was a population of rabbits which know exactly what to do. And those rabbits had all the tricks. So they stopped mid. So when you think of having a rabbit in a completely open field, you think, yeah, of course the goshawk will be able to catch them. But that's not the case. So when they know what to do and stopping in the middle of the field, and the goshawk goes 1 meter above them and grabs in the ground and stuff like that. So when you have rabbits which know the deal and which know what a goshawk is, they bring up impressive strategies to survive and not being caught. So yeah, I totally agree. When you have the long flights on feather, those are really impressive, and you really see what your bird can bring up. And but when you have those rabbit population which really know the deal, it can be as fascinating as feathers, I would say.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's certain flights that you're going to see where, rabbits will do hurdles, front flips, and all these different things, or, in and around your bird. And yeah, I agree. There's always exceptions, but I think, having that extra dimension of flight always is pretty neat. So, but yeah, I mean, so is there anything else you want to add before we kind of shut this down?
So the thing what I had, so I know not everybody can have a master falconer nearby and learning falconry really from the bottom. But I really have to say, search for really big falconers, old master falconers, who give you a feeling of the meaning of falconry. So those people who really have in their heart that falconry is the art of flying trained birds at wild quarry. And those people who live this, go, when you're a young falconer, go to these people, learn what falconry is and learn what they live for and what their minds are going all day long, of having the bird in the right shape, in the right position. Is he happy now? Should I put him to another place? Should I bath him? Do I need to do other stuff? And asks those people to what is falconry and learn how to do falconry from them. And that is, I think, the best start you can have. Of course, there are many old falconers who didn't have that and also became great falconers, or the best we have at the moment, without help. But you can skip so many things and so many wrong thoughts when you have this guidance, that you should, if there's any opportunity, use it and learn from those who did it before. So like we're standing on the shoulders of giants, and use it, and so that falconry can grow even more, and that the idea of falconry can evolve even further.
It takes a village, as they say. Yep, yeah. For sure. Yeah, there's very few things that can be replaced by good mentorship, in a lot of ways. It'll help you. I mean, everybody's going to still make mistakes and stuff, but those number of mistakes you hope will be drastically reduced for sure. If you've got somebody good showing you the ropes. So yeah, well, good stuff, man. Thanks so much for agreeing to come on and do this, and somewhat short notice, I guess. I'm glad we could figure out a time to make this work and make this happen and stuff. So just go ahead and hang out for just a few minutes while these files finish uploading. And, and I'm hoping to be able to actually make it over to Germany for that meet again next year. I was bummed I couldn't go last year, but I'm hoping that next year might be different. So we'll see what happens with all that, but hopefully we'll get another chance to do one of these again. Hopefully it'll be in person next time. It's killing me having, it'd be great. And it's killing me having to do more remote episodes here lately just because of circumstances. But, once again, it is what it is. But,
I think we would have way more stories to share about vizslas and goshawks than just this little bit we had.
For sure. And there's so much more that I want to find out from people in other countries and things, and hopefully we'll get the chance to do that again. And till then, thanks again, and hang out for a minute, and enjoy the rest of your day, man.
Thank you for having me.